Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Vice Dean, Fakulty Economics and Bisnis, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Pak Gilang and Pak Bayu, distinguished speakers, all participants. Welcome to the 12th Gadjah Mada International Conference on Economics and Business with the topic Inclusivity and Diversity in Economics, Business, Accounting, Beyond Border. So we know that diversity encompasses the diverse range of human being, including race, ethnicity, religion, gender, age, social class, including disability. So I believe that embracing diverse perspective in our life of aspect will bring the broader range of innovation and foster the creation of creativity. However, diversity is also associated with discrimination, as biased employment practices that may include individuals with a specific characteristic, for example, women and disabilities. Therefore, this is crucial to have an inclusive environment that recognizes the inherent worth and dignity of all people from different backgrounds and empower them into an environment that recognizes this diversity. So how diversity and inclusion occurs in the context of business, I would like to invite the distinguished speakers. So first of all, Ibu Poppy Ismalina. So Ibu Poppy Ismalina is an associate professor in the Department of Economics, Faculty of Bisnis, Universitas Gadjah Mada. She completed her Ph.D. at the System, Organization and Management, SOM, Research School, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Groningen. She has exceptional experience as the regional lead for economic growth and partnership in the U.S. aid-funded Asia Resilient Cities project in Asia, in India, Bangladesh, Mongolia, and Indonesia. She also experienced as the senior advisor for women economic empowerment at Human Women. So welcome to the stage, Ibu Poppy Ismalina. And the second speaker is Mr. Jenfang Chen. So Associate Professor Jenfang Chen is Associate Professor in the Department of Accounting and Corporate Governance from Macquarie Business School, Macquarie University, Australia. And he finished his PhD in accounting from National Taipei University. And currently he actively engaged in the editorial board, NTU Management Review, and the Journal of Indonesian Economics and Business. Welcome to the stage. Thank you. And last but not least is Professor Renato Pereira, Professor of General Management, Iscte Business School. I hope I can pronounce correctly, yeah, from Portugal. He is Associate Dean for Internationalization and Research Director, MSc in International Management. Professor Renato finished his PhD at the Habilitation Scientific Coordination in Management Science, University Paris Est, France, and he is a member of Business Research Unit Iscte Business School, and has received an excellence and rating from National Regulator of Science and Technology. And he also served as the associate editor of the International Journal of Work Innovation and the International Journal of Business and Emerging Market. Welcome to the stage, Prof. Renato. Thank you. So we will invite all the speakers each to deliver their thoughts in 25 to 30 minutes, and then after all the speakers deliver their presentation, and then Q&A session. So first of all, we will invite Ibu Poppy to deliver her thoughts about driving inclusivity through women empowerment in economics and business activities. Time is yours, Bu Poppy.
Thank you, Mbak Wuri. Good morning, all of honorable ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, moderators, and of course, my colleague, my smart sisters and brothers, Mbak Eni, Mas Gigi, and the amazing Vice Dean Gilang and Bayu, and the director of GAMAICEB, my smart sister, Mita, and of course, my teacher, Professor Chatu Sugianto, and Mas Boyko, and my sister Alika. So thank you for asking me to speak in this conference. Thank you, the chairman of the committee, Mas Gigi. I feel so honored and delighted to speak in front of you. And the topic of my presentation is how to drive inclusivity to women empowerment in economics and business. So I just need to stand up too. Okay. So the focus of my presentation is why do we need to discuss this topic? Okay. And how to do this? I start this presentation with a sentence that most of us believe. The world is dominated by men, and this is the males dominated world. And the question is, how bad is it? And what are the indicators? What empirical evidences say that? In 2022, UN Women and Push Lab Jakarta did a research and concludes that investors prefer funding companies led by men over those led by women. And there are two reasons. The first is women leaders are accused of being risk-averse because their orientation is not progressive growth, but steady growth. They calculated the risk. So that's why they are being accused of risk-averse. And the second is pregnancy and motherhood are seen as a risk and difficulties in finding the right support network. Besides that, Frontier Brokers in 2021 does research, does survey. Indonesia has more than 22 million women entrepreneurs who manage more than half of small medium enterprises. Unfortunately, 82% of them do not have an access of financial institutions. That's the business world in Indonesia. So how could data statistics say to add this fact? So according to Central Bureau of Statistics Indonesia in 2023, if we talk about labor participation rates for women, it's only 55.5%. So it means from the total of labor force for women, it's only 55.5% who works in the labor market. Compared with men, for men, 83.18%. And more than 64% of women who work in that labor market work for informal sectors. You know, the characteristic of informal sectors. And the gender gap pay also exists. Again, according to Central Bureau of Statistics, every 100 rupiah men earn in the same position, women only earn 78,000 rupiah. So there is a difference. So there is a gap from the salary that women have. And 42% of companies have not women at all in executive leadership team. And sexual harassment and violence also occurs. Also women as a victims. So 87% of victims are women, based on the data from the Minister of Women Employment and Child Protection. And women hold a quarter of high-paying managerial roles, and again, are paid less than men in the same position. How about in the global? Labor participation rate for women in the global is still 47%. And for men, that's 74%. And also, gender gap pay exists in the world. So every $1 men earn, women only get 0.72. So again, dollar, there is a big difference. So why it can happen? Why it could happen? So based on our survey in UN Women, we can define disease because of gender bias. Gender bias is the prejudice for individual against individual based on their gender, resulting in unequal opportunities, unequal treatment, and unequal representation. So gender bias can manifest in 5 forms. Subordination. Women have less power and authority. Marginalization. Women exclude from equal access for resources. Multiple burden in domestication in the household. And stereotype. Men led, men lead, women are led. When a woman leader speak passionately with a strong voice, and at the same time, a man leader speak passionately with a strong voice, and a woman leader can be accused to be a harsh leader, or emotional, or accused to be a leader that will have strong treatment to their subordinate. But for men, will be accused to be a decisive leader. That's part of the gender bias. Unfortunately, when this region, Asia Pacific, has still the current pace of the gender bias condition, the gender inequality condition. So based on the Global Gender Gap Report in 2023, published by World Economic Forum, we need 189 years to recover, to achieve the gender equality. But in the meantime, if we are successful to improve the gender equality in the Asia Pacific region, we will have additional $4.5 trillion that can contribute to the improvement of the Asia Pacific economy. So it means gender equality will drive economic growth, not only in Indonesia, but in the world, including the Asia Pacific region. The question is, how do we change that? What we have to do? So, when gender bias still exists, and it can be consciously or unconsciously, that's why we cannot let business players, policy makers, economic players do their business as usual. We have to bring them we have to lead them. We have to guide them to have strong intentions to improve gender equality, to empower women in their workplace, in the marketplace, and in the community. So that's why in 2010, UN Women and UN Global Impact launched the principles that are called as Women Empowerment Principles. This is not the only one solution, of course, but at least when we want to bring business players, policy makers, decision makers, or economic players, we want to guide them to have strong intention to empower women, to improve gender equality. These principles can be a platform to mobilize business actions to address gender inequality. And this principle can be a framework for business players to define business strategies, to decide something that will be useful to improve gender equality. So the principles are using the value change approach. So to improve gender equality, to empower women, not only in the marketplace, only in the workplace, but that's covered by this framework, this platform. Improving gender equality, empowering women must be done at the workplace, marketplace, and the community level. So what the principle says, so the first is about established leadership for improving gender equality. We need to encourage business leaders, policy makers to have strong commitment to define, to decide strategies, policies, programs that can encourage women to lead, to decide. Based on the research from Bank of America study, we can say that public companies with at least 25% women on their boards had higher average 1-year ROE. So it will affect the business performance. Once the companies intentionally improve or intentionally give women chance, opportunities. The second is fairness and non-discrimination for all employees. So the companies, the business activities, the institutions, including the Faculty of Economics and Business, must have non-discrimination policy, equal pay and business, and also gender-sensitive recruitment and retention. Don't ever let women leaders to feel sorry about their emotional characteristics. Don't ever ask women employees whether do you want to get promoted or not. Give them a chance. Affirmation must be done. The business must do affirmation for women employees because most of women never see her grandma, her mom, her big sister to speak up, to lead, to decide. So, no wonder if we see most of women do not feel confident to speak up, to decide, to lead. So if you ask women randomly, whether do you want to be a leader, it doesn't mean she's not capable. She doesn't mean she doesn't want to do. But she has no experiences to see women around her life to lead, to decide. So that's why we need affirmation for women. And the third principle is health, safety, and well-being for all employees. So in Bangladesh, a company who invests their money for hygiene and reproductive health in the garment manufacturing sector, it has triple time ROE from the previous year. And the fourth is equal opportunities for education and training for career development. So if you see your women employee just have a baby and it will constrain you to send them to do or to conduct or to participate in training abroad, something like that. That's not an excuse. So please deal with her family, her husband, to talk about that possibility of sending her to participate in the training abroad, something like that. So that's why Sodexo has reported a return of $19 for every $1 spent on diversity and inclusion advocacy and promotion. So the fifth principle, value chain and marketing strategy. Involve women in your value challenge. Avoid the stereotype of women in your marketing strategy. That's for the principle 5. So for the principle 6, community development, you have to be intentional to set up, to arrange the community program for empowering women in the neighborhood. Study in Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia found that investors, 85% of women want to invest in responsible companies. Principle 7, measuring and reporting. So this framework is not only about talks or advocacy, but the framework has measurable indicators and it has to be reported to the public. So by empowering women, by improving gender equality in the business community or in your institution, so you will have an amazing brand reputation for your company, for your institution. And what the implication, what the benefit that the business will get by improving gender equality or for empowering women. By including women's empowerment principles or improving gender equality in your business, in your company, empirical evidences conclude that there are 3 main benefits for businesses. The first is cost savings, increased productivity and resilience, innovation and growth, and market growth and brand reputation. So this is the empirical evidences. Accenture 2019, innovation is 60 times higher in companies where men and women are treated equally. Cost saving and increased productivity. So Deloitte in 2018 concludes that inclusive companies experience 22% lower turnover rates. So if your company, the company has lower turnover rates, of course, the productivity will be stable, will be sustainable. And market growth. So Harvard Business Review conclude that women account for more than $20 trillion in consumer spending annually and are the fastest growing consumer economic growth. So, women, of course, have different preference, have different tastes. So the product diversification of the company will be done if you include women as a part of your company's innovation. And trust and credibility. As employees, women prioritize strong business ethics, equal pay, and strong diversity. So we can see that women or gender equality are a big concern for the world. So that's why UN Women and UN Global Compact treat them as a social movement. Currently, we have more than 9,000 who signed the web signatories. So, ladies and gentlemen, improving gender equality is not the final goal. That's the foundation for having better future, better livelihood, and a fair, sustainable future for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Poppy, for delivering your thoughts on the fact and data, how gender inequality occurs around us. And we also heard on the source of the inequality from the subordination, from marginalization, stereotype, and also discrimination. We also learn on how to improve the gender quality in the business and also the benefits. So I believe that there are many questions from us, but I asked to hold the question until we finish for all speakers to deliver their presentation. Okay, I think the second speakers, I will invite Prof. Renato first, because it's truly related with the issue that just mentioned by Bu Poppy about entrepreneurship. And then I will continue with the context in audit. Okay, so I give time to Professor Renato to deliver inclusivity and diversity through impactful entrepreneurship. Time is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for this invitation. It's an honor to be here with you today. So for University Gadjah Mada, thank you very much. And of course, I'm very happy to be here with my dear colleagues and friends, especially Professor Nurul, Professor Gomilang. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor. Of course, all the other friends and colleagues related with us in some way. It's really a pleasure to be here today. This topic is definitely very important. I was really happy to have the opportunity to discuss this a little bit here with you today. I have been advocating for using entrepreneurship as a tool to foster inclusivity and diversity. I'll explain you why during this talk, why I believe entrepreneurship has a key role into this issue. And I also report on my experience, particularly in Africa, using entrepreneurship to foster this kind of results. I would like to tell you up front that it is not without some criticism that I have been advocating for entrepreneurship. I can tell you that some of my colleagues from developmental economics have been saying that entrepreneurship is a too liberal approach, and I'll try to explain why I believe entrepreneurship is the right tool to foster some of these key issues. So for introduction, there are lots of research explaining and establishing the relationship between entrepreneurship and successful development strategies in emerging economies across the world. Of course, this includes what is now called the Global South, but also some countries that are in Europe have been benefit from experiences in entrepreneurship. So it's not only the Global South. I would like to report you also on experiences in countries like Romania and Albania and Bulgaria. And just to express a little bit, that is actually a tool for developing, so supporting developing strategies. The research reports that the results point to the double impact. First, on poverty alleviation, what is called the informal entrepreneurship, we could say, or necessity-driven entrepreneurship, but also as a way of increasing the wealth creation process. So for middle-income countries, for example, and every country in an upgrading process, entrepreneurship is also related to create very good results. So that's the case for, I would say, understanding entrepreneurship as a powerful tool for supporting strategies that aim at in upgrading an economic system. So we also have the papers and technical documents from key international institutions such as the World Bank, and also from many top universities from across the world that are increasingly concerned about the lack of inclusivity and diversity in many regions. We have seen in this past, my past presentation from my colleague Poppy, that actually this is we could say it's the figures she reported about Indonesia, we could report from many, many other countries, unfortunately, and also in the US, that has a very good balance in the mid levels of companies. Then in the high levels, we could still see that there's a big difference. So what is the promise of entrepreneurship from that perspective? Is the promise of autonomy. So you can set your own company. If society is not providing you with the right opportunities, you can create your opportunities. So from that perspective, what we need to do to make entrepreneurship a useful tool is to create the right setting for people that want to use entrepreneurship as a leverage to be capable of doing so. In Africa, this is very much the case for different reasons, because in many places, you don't really have a market economy. In some places, many of the basic needs are not properly addressed by the existing companies, by the existing players. And so the communities have to organize and to provide for those basic needs. So we could say more impactful entrepreneurship is needed to tackle these critical issues. And this is also something that I have been researching recently. So what is impactful entrepreneurship? We could define it as a type of entrepreneurship that generates positive change both for the entrepreneurs as well as for the settings in which they operate, increasing inclusivity, diversity, and overall economic and societal development. So as using it as, we could say, as a trigger for lots of positive benefits that could influence positively in the country, the region, the setting where that entrepreneurship is actually developed. So it's not any kind of entrepreneurship. We have to be very precise about this. Although we could say that any kind of entrepreneurship would have a positive impact, it's also true that in some places, entrepreneurship is much more required and much more impactful than others. Recent data from, for example, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is showing that in developed countries, the entrepreneurial rates are reducing. And the explanation is that in those developed countries, people have so many opportunities in the formal labor market that they are not willing anymore to take the risk of developing their own ventures. So it means that actually the quality of the entrepreneurship may be increasing, but the quantity is definitely decreasing. So there is a natural selection based on how much entrepreneurship were in the prior stages of the economic development. So we need to actually use this as a tool for those who have not reached yet that kind of level. So one of the fundamental issues about impactful entrepreneurship remains the lack of capacities at the individual level for becoming an impactful entrepreneur. Also, there is evidence that many people don't really get to be entrepreneurs despite the will to be or to become one, because they don't really have the abilities that are required to successfully launch a venture and sustainably support that venture. So we get into this negative cause-effect cycle of less capacities generating less entrepreneurship, and less entrepreneurship favoring less inclusivity and diversity, and finally less economic and societal development. So the idea is how can we actually break this cycle and create conditions for having those who really need to become impactful entrepreneurs, how can we help them to reach that stage? So that is basically what I have been working with and researching in this past few years. So some of the reasons why this has been a major issue. So first, we could say first group of reasons, poor or void institutional settings, where there is no support at all to create a venture. There is no real institutional background. There is no legal framework. There is no funding support. There is no infrastructure to really create an operation. So this is the first set of elements that many developing countries suffer these days. On a second level, we have weak or inexistent educational systems where people don't really can get the basic tools to be capable of managing a business. So, of course, you can see several NGOs operating in this type of settings and trying to, of course, support local populations in every way they can. But, you know, the lack of a formal education system leads to people not taking education seriously, and because of their economic struggles, immediately taking a professional path of course, very low added value. Another set of elements is the fragile and or absent public policy that actually do not really create any type of support for or even to give some social endorsement to the entrepreneurs. So we see that the combination of these different elements makes it very difficult for entrepreneurship to thrive in this type of settings. So we can say that based on all these elements and given the level of research that has already been produced to discuss this issue and try to find solutions, we say that somehow there is we have created momentum for action now. So especially because recent times have been even more challenging to these countries than, of course, all the structural issues that they already had. So there is an extra burden related to the recent events that have been affecting the whole world, but of course more dramatically these regions. So COVID-19 lockdowns that really create a big problem in areas where people don't really have a job, right? Don't really have some kind of social support, and this creates extra distress for I would say the general population in these places. Climate change, and climate change is getting to be more extreme in terms of its consequences, and it's affecting countries that already have some structural issues. We could say that climate change, on the other hand, is pushing people for displacement because they cannot really find conditions in their original locations to develop their businesses, to develop their economic activities. So this is creating even more struggles from that perspective. And of course, the demographic explosion in some countries. Indonesia is one of the countries where the population has been increasing. So this is creating even more difficulties for populations that already had problems of finding economic sustainability. So all this made the momentum for urgent action in support of, we could say, the most promising, but also the most endangered groups in places like Afghanistan, Sub-Saharan Africa, or Venezuela, just to quote a few that have been spotted more recently, which is the youth. And this is the group that we are now more concerned about, because these elements, the general, we could say, the general situation, especially in these recent years, has led to a huge increase even in the more qualified groups, has increased a lot the unemployment rate in many of these regions. So not only the general framework is negative, but also those who seek to find qualifications or look for upgrading are not really getting a reward and this is creating an additional issue. So in this place and several other, of course, young people of 12 to 16 years of age are increasingly enduring permanent interruption of their educational paths and depend on entrepreneurial empowerment to thrive in these extreme settings. So we have in Africa, for example, one of the hardest consequences is that the premature marriages, so girls who cannot really find an opportunity for economic autonomy have been forced to get married to find that type of support. Boys are being recruited from terrorist units, for example, in different areas. And all this related mainly with their difficulties of finding some economic survival, economic autonomy. So we have been working in a large project in Africa to support these groups to get some entrepreneurial empowerment through different training actions and follow-up actions to make sure that the number of individuals that can really have a sustainable result from their entrepreneurial ventures is that actually this number increase. So we have been partnering with the local universities, with local NGOs, and also with the governments. And I can report you that based on the initial results, we don't have yet enough time to get the final conclusions, but based on the preliminary results, I can tell you that this has been very positive. So we are trying to add more partners to this project and eventually enlarge our geographical scope. So, how to do this? Despite the urgency of this problem, there is not enough knowledge, and because of that, these experimental groups that we have been working with are providing us with very important data to enhance a methodology that will help rolling out this type of project to more regions. And of course, we need more research, we need more data, we need more institutional commitment, because the follow-up of these actions is critical, and more political action is also required. So what we have noticed in many of these places is that there is the commitment, but then there is not enough knowledge for fostering more effective support. So also the partnership with these policymakers is very important to create more inclusivity. So it's an ongoing, challenging process, but I think it's definitely one of the possible ways to tackle this issue. So in conclusion, there are obvious opportunities to create and test new methodologies, because different groups, different regions have different challenges, to grant these target groups impactful entrepreneurial skills, including but not relying solely on digital capacities, because of course when we talk today of developing entrepreneurship, everything leads to more digital entrepreneurial ventures, and especially in places like Africa with the partnership with Microsoft, for example, it's very much the case. But in some areas is about just granting people with local deeds, supporting companies, and sometimes even in a cooperative model, but just granting the possibility for people to stay in their regions and to be sustainable, economically sustainable in those regions, working autonomously. And with this, I thank you, and I welcome you. If you want, I welcome you to join me on LinkedIn, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, give applause to Renato. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. So we know that entrepreneurship based on the previous study have a benefit. One of them is to reduce the poverty. That's why entrepreneurship has become the key to reduce inequality through impactful entrepreneurship. However, how to build or how to develop impactful entrepreneurship? So currently there is no previous study has been done to develop. So I think this is the possible opportunity to us to develop together on how to bring or how to develop impactful entrepreneurship. Okay, thank you for your presentation, Renato. So from the informal sector, we are trying to see on how the inequality also happen in the formal sectors. In this case, in the accounting firm. Yeah. So Jenfang will explain on the lower audit fees for women and audit partners in Taiwan and why. So time is yours, Jenfang. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation to present my paper here. It's a great honor to me. And because I only have 25 minutes, so I will, I will just briefly introduce the paper and leave more time for the discussion after the presentation. So the title of the paper I'm going to present today is Lower Audit Fee for the Female Audit Partner in Taiwan and why. So I would like to provide some backgrounds for this research. So in the auditing industry, actually there is a great demand for the auditing service. And this is because more and more regulation had been introduced in the market, and along with the strong oversight from the regulator. So the company actually need a live auditing service from the accounting firm. And that's the reason the accounting firm needed to recruit a lot of talented people from the labor market. But unfortunately, because within the audit firm, there are some critical issues like the gender discrimination. And this kinds of issue may affect the sustainability of this industry. So that's the reason today I focus on the gender discrimination within the accounting firm. So let's take a look at some statistics. So this slide shows the growth of the financial accounting professional service. And according to some research by the famous institution, the auditing market is forecasted to increase by 113 billion between 2023 and 2025. And during the same period, the compound annual growth rate for this industry is 5.96%. So it's a very high growth rate in this industry. However, within the accounting firm, there are some critical issues like the gender pay gap. So if we look at the pay gap within the Big Four accounting firm, when excluding the partner, the pay gap between the female partner and the male partner is about 13% in the PwC. PwC is one of the Big Four. And it's 19% in the EY and 18% in Deloitte and 22% in the KPMG. However, if we consider the salary of the partner, the pay gap increased to 43% in the PwC. So this means the pay gap within the Big Four, within the Big Four accounting firm is a very big issue. Especially at the partner level. So in addition to the pay gap, promotion is another issue within the Big Four accounting firm. So this slide shows the number and the positions of the auditor within the Big Four. If we look at the position below the manager, 47% are female and 52% are male. So there is no big difference in these positions. However, if we look at the higher position like the senior manager, director, or partner, the difference becomes larger. Especially at the partner level, we can find only 18% of the partners are female, and 81% of the partners are male. So this means the female auditor within the Big Four is more difficult to get promoted. And this slide shows the percentage of male and the female partners in the S&P 500 company. We can find that among the S&P 500 companies, only 15% of the firm are audited by the female auditor. And this percentage can become even smaller among the S&P 100. It's only 11%. So which means the big company actually they don't like to engage with the female audit partner. So maybe the big company don't like to engage with a female partner just because most of the big companies are controlled by men. So that's the statistic of the corporate governance data from the S&P 500 company. We can find only 5% the CEO are female, and only 11% of the top earner among the S&P 500 companies are the female. So this is a very small percentage. So this shows maybe one of the reasons they big companies don't like to engage with the female partner just because of most of these companies are controlled by the men. So what's our motivation? Because we found there is the pay gap and also promotion issues within the Big Four accounting firm. So we want to see what are the reasons for the gender gap in the auditing industry. And especially we want to know if the lower audit fee charged by the female partner, one of the reasons. Because if the female, they charge a lower fee, it's more difficult for them to get a higher salary within the accounting firm, and also will be more difficult to get promoted. So that's the reason we want to focus on the audit fee and to see if this is one of the reasons. And in this paper, we choose the setting in Taiwan. And the reason we choose Taiwan because it's an emerging economy. They try to improve the gender inequality. So the Taiwan actually they have a very high ranking in gender inequality in Asia, and also the labor participation rate of the young woman is about 91%, so which is pretty high in compared to other countries. And also in politics, about 38% of the legislators are female. So which means the female, they occupy a very high position in the politics. And about the education, the proportion of female students in higher educations surpass the men students in 2014, which means actually the woman can have the equal opportunity to get the higher education. And this is the first female president in Taiwan, which is the Tsai Ing-wen. And she was elected in 2016. And under her leadership, Taiwan have very strong economic growth. And more importantly, there are fewer fights in our parliament. So I think there's a big achievement under her leadership. And this is the latest governance in Taiwan. And 1/3 of the minister are female. So actually in politics, and no matter in politics or in society, the female, they perform very well. So because of the Taiwan, they have made a significant improvement in the gender inequality. So we want to see if the gender discriminations still exist within the accounting firm. So here we have two questions. The first question is, do the audit client pay lower audit fee to the female auditor in Taiwan? And the second question is, we want to see if this is true, will it affect the audit quality? So before we go to the analysis, I want to show you some evidence in other countries. In Australia, I think the situation is very similar. 96% of the partners are men, and only 3% of the partners within the big accounting firms were female. So, but this is a research in the 1980s. But situation should be very similar right now. And in Sweden, the Mason et al., they find the female auditor less likely to be promoted. And they also find having children increase the likelihood of the male auditor to be promoted, but decrease the likelihood for female, which means the male auditor should have more baby in order to get promoted. So that's the findings from the Sweden and from the Australia. We can find very similar situations. And there are some literature, some study outside the auditing. They try to see if the pay gap between the male and the female is driven by their performance. So they look at the company and to compare the performance of the female CEO and the male CEO, and to see if there is any evidence in their performance. And from the empirical result, they find there is no evidence that the male executive outperform female. So which means actually the gender gap cannot be explained by the performance. So this also provide some implication to our study. We try to see if the difference in the audit fee between the male and the female can be explained by the difference in their audit quality and the audit efficiency. Usually the audit quality can represent the female auditor's performance. So we use the Taiwan setting to be our example just because the Taiwan provide very unique data. Different from other countries where the audit report only disclose the name of the audit firm. The data from Taiwan can identify the names of two audit partners. And based on their name, we can identify their gender. And from 2002, the Taiwan government required the company to disclose the audit fee. So that's the reason we can get the data to complete this study. So our sample cover the period from 2002 to 2011. And we have 4,943 observations. So this is our first regression model. On the left-hand side is audit fee. On the right-hand side, the key variable is the gender, which equal to 1 if the audit partner is female. So we want to compare if the audit fee charged by the male and the female auditor. So this is the distribution of the female audit partner by year in our samples. So basically, if we look at the whole observation, we can find about 42% of the firm are audited by the female auditor. And if we look at the trend during the sample period, we can find this ratio is increasing over time. So which is a good signal for the accounting firm. And this is the distribution of the female audit partner by industry. And the ratios in our samples is quite dispersed. And some industry, they have very high ratios of the firm audited by the female auditor, like the oil and the gas industry. But others, they have very low percentage, like machinery and electric, only about 37%. So which means some industry some company in some industry, actually, they don't like to hire the female auditor. So we call this kinds of industry as the masculine industry. Okay. So we will do more analysis on using to observe if the audit fee discount is larger in this masculine industry. So this is the empirical result for our first regression. We can find for the variable women, the coefficient is negative and significant, which means the woman charge lower audit fee from the client. So this is our first finding. And we find these relations is even pronounced when the leading partner is the female. And we also look at the industry effect, because we just mentioned there are some industry, they don't like to hire female auditors. So we call them the masculine industry. So we do an interaction turn of the woman and the masculine industry. And we find the coefficient is negative and significant. So this means the female partner in the masculine industry even charge the even lower audit fee and in their audit engagement. So basically, we find the audit fee is much lower if there is at least one female audit partner in the engagement. And this situation is more pronounced when the leading partner is the female and for the firm in the masculine industry. And in the second part of the analysis, we want to look at the performance of the female auditor. So we look at their audit quality. So the first regressions, we look at the discretionary accrual, which can represent the audit quality of the audit partner. And we also look at the reporting lag. We want to see how much time the auditor spend in their audit engagement. So from this regression model, we can find the coefficient for the women's in negative and the significant, which means the female auditor actually allow less earnings manipulation. They don't allow the company to manipulate a lot in their earning or in their profit. So which means the female auditor provide better audit quality in their engagement. And if we look at the time the auditor spend, the audit partner spend in their engagement, we can find the coefficient is positive and significant, which means the female auditor, they spend more time in their engagement. So what are our findings? We find that the female audit partner actually provide better audit quality. So the negative relation between the audit fee and the female partner may not be explained by the superior audit quality of the male auditor. And we also find the female audit partner, they spend more time, they're working harder in the audit engagement, so to ensure the quality of their engagement. So our conclusion is that the discrimination against the female auditor currently exists in Taiwan. Even Taiwan have a significant improvement in the politics in the society, but we still find some discrimination within the audit firm. So, and we also provide the evidence that it's unlikely that our results are driven by the difference in audit quality and the audit reporting lag between the male and the female auditor. So this is our conclusion. And because we find the female auditor, they charge lower audit fee, but provide better audit quality through the longer working hour. So we want to know maybe we should look at the accounting firm and to see why this situation happens within accounting firm. And maybe we can explore their compensation structure, or look at the culture or other environmental issues within the accounting firm and to find the reason. So maybe this can be the future research in the following year. Okay. So that's my brief introduction, and thank you for your listening. Yeah.
Thank you, Jenfang, for the explanation of this research topic. Very interesting. Your finding is corroborate the evidence, previous evidence, how audit firm currently still become the male-dominated workforce in every places. So I think it's not only in Taiwan, but also in other part of the world that women participation is still low in terms of the representation. Again, from your data, you mentioned that the higher level of the position is the lowest presentation of women from the CEO, from the partner, and from the other position. So I think this is the big homework for us on how to improve the participation of women in every aspect of workforce. Thank you again for all the three speakers. And now we are moving to the Q&A session. And I give you three opportunity to ask a question to all the speakers. Please raise your hand, mention your name and institution, and to whom your question will be addressed. Okay, from the right side. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ismalina. I am a faculty member of Universitas Bunda Mulia from Jakarta. And if I may, I would like to ask two questions, one for Ibu Poppy and one for Prof. Renato, if that's okay. Okay, so for Ibu Poppy, I'm very interested in my expertise is in strategic management, and my topic of research is mostly on agility and business model innovation. And I do some research for a lot of SMEs also. So I'm very interested in, when you say women's empowerment principles, how would you think, based on your research, how would you think we can apply that for women entrepreneurs? So that's for Ibu Poppy. And for Professor Renato, I'm currently working to research for empowering entrepreneurship in the eastern part of Indonesia. Eastern part of Indonesia is probably one of the poorest areas that we have in Indonesia. So I think it would be somewhat similar to what you found in Africa and so on. And I also observe your presentation about the impactful entrepreneurship. I think that is probably one of the core issues that we observe to be lacking in those areas. So I was wondering if you could share about what was the framework you used when you developed the program for the one you mentioned in Africa for the development of the empowering the young entrepreneurs. So that's two questions from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Ibu Yasmina.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Second question from the mid. Yeah. Yes, please.
Hello. Thank you for the insightful presentations from all the speakers. My name is Maria. I'm from Atmajaya Catholic University, Jakarta. I would like to address a question for Ibu Poppy. So I noticed that in regard to gender equality, there is a negative perspective that is going on. In many workplace, initiatives for gender equality are often framed as a zero-sum game, where gains in one gender seems to be at the expense of another gender. So this can induce tension and competition between the gender, like the male versus the female. It seems some people will think that way. So my question is, how can we shift the narrative around gender equality from the zero-sum perspective to a more collaborative approach that emphasizes shared benefits and mutual empowerment. Do you think this kind of changing of perspective is possible in the workplace? Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Maria. Please, another question from my left side, previously. Okay. In the middle, yes, okay.
Thank you for all the distinguished speaker. Such insightful presentation. My name is Niputu Sumartini. I'm from National Statistic Office of Indonesia, or Central Bureau of Statistics. I would like to ask Bu Poppy. Recently, there was a debate ongoing about whether we should extend maternity leave or paternity leave. I would like to know Bu Poppy's opinion about this issue and about the policy surrounding it. Which one do you prefer? And so, because it has been said that the extension of maternity leave will have the potential to harm gender equality, right? And on the other side, the extension of paternity leave might address this issue. So do you agree or not agree with this statement? And I would also want to know what is your recommendation for a policymaker about this issue? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu. And lady using your dress, yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the insightful session in this morning. I want to ask for Ibu Poppy. Considering
your name, please, please mention your name and you know.
My name is Roma Uli. I am from Siliwangi University. My question is, considering the deep root culture in Indonesia and religious, how does this factor influence the progress of gender equality in Indonesia? Because Indonesia have many culture and has 6 religious.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. The religious culture, yes. How improve the progress in gender equality? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so far we have 4 questions, and I will invite Bu Poppy, the favorite speakers today. So please, Bu Poppy, there are 4 questions for you.
Okay, thank you for your good questions. And I will respond to Yasmina and Maria together. So when I explain about the women empowerment principles launched by UN Women and UN Global Impact, of course, I do believe that that's not the only one solution to encourage business players, economic players, or all decision makers in all of organizations in the world, in Indonesia, to improve gender equality, to empower women. But we did survey from UN Women headquarters in the world, around the world, we did a survey. When we asked business leaders and also the leaders from non-governmental organizations, what do you need to improve or to have strong intention to empower women in your organization? And most of them say they have no idea to define business strategies or to define the decision that can help women or that can give women more opportunities. So at the time, that's the reason why UN Women decide to have a kind of social movement to introduce the women empowerment principles, and we also set up the tools for monitoring and for reporting the achievement in the world for improving gender equality. So we need to introduce, we need to give them an understanding about a framework, a platform, and a guide how to define business strategies that can empower women, that can improve women's opportunities to be a leader. So that's the reason why we do that. So if we talk about micro, small, medium enterprises, so the principles, the implementation of the principles can be applied to all size, sectors, and geography for the firms. So it depends on the capability, the ability of the firms. That's why before introducing the principles, the framework, the platform to them, we can do a preliminary diagnosis. To what extent do your organization apply or improve or have a commitment to empower women? So we do the preliminary evaluation about that. It's not easy, of course, because as I said, the problems of gender inequality come from the gender bias. And it has been internalized by us for the whole of life, including the religious norm, the religious values. So when we promote the gender equality and we talk about the phenomena of subordination, marginalization, women must be a leader, must be promoted to be a leader. So it might be against religious norms. So that's the fact that we face. But the problems is we will lose economic benefit. We will lose better future. We will lose better livelihood if we ignore women's participation in our world. So that's why this is kind of social movement. This is not only business movement, but whatever the platform, the framework that you use, you have to realize that empirical evidences in around the world concludes that improving gender equality will give the companies more benefits, will give the institutions more able to achieve their institutions goals. So that's the empirical evidence says. So how about the facilities that women can get, including the maternity or paternity leave? Because Indonesia still difficult to accept women in the labor market, and the gender pay gap still exists. So my current position, disagree with the extension of maternity leave. So from 3 months or 4 months to be 6 months, because it will definitely decrease the opportunities of women in the labor market to be accepted, to improve the labor participation rate. We still have an initial agenda for improving women in labor market, to improve labor participation rate. So that's why when we involve and Central Bureau of Statistics also involved, to arrange the roadmap of care economy, the solution is not to extend the maternity leave or paternity leave from 3 months to 6 months. So it will reduce the acceptance level of women in the labor market. And that will be a significant impact in reducing labor participation rate for women. So it will be bad news for. So that's why UN Women's position disagree with that solution. So the solution is it's not easy, and it will have a slow pace in Indonesia because we are a kind of country who have strong religious norm. So the solution is we will do some interventions to improve the facilities for women to be able to do the multiple burden in the household. So we will provide some recommendations for policymakers to improve the care economy perspective in economic sectors in Indonesia. We provide childcare, we provide the role of husband to take care of women, to take care of children, and we provide some facilities that women in informal sector can afford to put their children in the community childcare, something like that. So Indonesia has a different approach because of our culture, our belief, and of course our social norms. That's my point.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation, the question from the audience. So we believe that empowering women and reaching the equality is still, a long way to go because of the cultural issue and also the structural social in the society that makes difficult. Even there are many tools and regulation in place, but still implementation is still far away. Okay, thank you, Bu Poppy. And Renato, you have a question. What is the framework that you use in the developing program in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. The question from Professor Yasmin. Doctor?
Yes, from Yasmin.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, doctor. All right. Thank you very much. Let me try to explain. So, there are lots of theoretical elements that we have tried to combine to develop our framework, and we are still testing. So, one of the elements is the extreme settings theory that has been studied in different fields in strategic management, related with the firm behavior, but not with individual level behavior. So that is our biggest concern, is that most of the management theories that we can use to support our entrepreneurial framework are firm level. We are trying to work on the initial stage of the process. Many women in Africa are entrepreneurial because they are forced to be, because they have to support their families, because there is no real market in their regions, but they are not empowered, so the results of their entrepreneurial action are somehow weak. So that's what we have noticed. So we need to work in the beginning of the process to make sure that they have a more impactful result. So we are still developing a theory for that and testing different methods. Because there is what we can't find yet is long-term results of working with entrepreneurs. There are several short-term experiences in many countries developed by many types of organizations, but there is no real follow-up. So we are trying to create the whole structure and creating initial groups that we can follow up during several years and get results from and see what are unexpected results from our initial assumptions. And we will be working on this on an ongoing basis to try to find a better approach. So that's why I call it's still experimental, it's still on the early stages of research, and it's still very contextual dependent. So what happens in one region may not be the same in the other region, and we need to always adjust and be flexible to take into consideration the different elements. What we know is that if we can't find a way of empowering these entrepreneurs, these people will be doomed to be excluded from an economic sustainability. So that's what we are aiming at. So this, of course, deals with gender, because women used to be the most endangered group. But today, actually, it's even worse. It's not just the women. There are many young boys that are being kept away from individual development, and they've been recruited to join military groups, terrorist units, and other illegal operations, simply because they have no kind of skills. So in settings where formal education does not exist, where you cannot really go and start from scratch and wait like 10, 12 years before you can have someone prepared to generate some kind of economic output, we believe that this kind of entrepreneurial approach will be the fastest and the more sustainable way to grant these groups a sustainable way of living. So it's an ongoing, we'll be including more partners, but the ambition is actually very high because there is not enough progress from the institutional perspective. There is not enough progress in most of these societies. So we cannot wait from the institutional setting, from the political powers. We cannot expect to have the action required to empower these groups. So that's why we believe this is the right approach. Hopefully next year I will be back with more results to share with you as a contributor to this event. But actually, it's been a big challenge, I can tell you. And there is not enough theory for this, and especially that connects entrepreneurship with with venture results. There is a lot of research on individual level, basically the motivations, aspirations, and the entrepreneurial path, but not exactly how can I take a person from an early age with no formal education and give basic tools for a quick economic result. So that's the challenge. Hopefully we'll be sharing more of this in years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a following question from Ibu Yasmina? So in your program, is there any specific intervention from the government or from the other parts to implement for the impactful entrepreneurship? What do you think?
From central governments, no. We have local governments supporting us by providing, for example, a place where we can go on with these training sessions. And they try, for example, to support with some food for those who in those days are not working. So very basic support. But we can partner with, for example, some companies, and those companies are helping to support their communities through, for example, relatives or employees they have. So we could partner, for example, in northeast of Angola. There is a diamond mines, and there are large companies exploring those diamonds, and they have been granting us with some support, even transportation, to reach population groups that have been kept out of this. But the governments are not yet, because they feel that entrepreneurship, in a way, is something that occurs naturally. So they don't feel that they need to have any influence on that process. So that is a big concern. Entrepreneurship is something that is out of our we could say our policy challenges.
Okay. Yeah.
So we did research for distinguish impact women entrepreneurs and impact men entrepreneurs. And our research concludes that women are more able to transform their companies to be impact entrepreneurship. So, Yasmin, if you want to know information about the existence of NGO or organization that can encourage women entrepreneurs to transform their companies to be impactful, entrepreneurship. There are many NGOs and also ventures capital in Indonesia, based in Indonesia, international and national institution that provides funding for transforming companies led by women entrepreneurs to be impactful entrepreneurship.
Is it through CSR or something like this?
No. So the organization mediate the companies led by women entrepreneurs with ventures capital. So to give capacity building or training to encourage them from transforming their companies to be impactful entrepreneurship. So there are many fundings, donors who work with that. Because again, impactful entrepreneurship is a solution for achieving inclusivity and diversity in the world, in the business world. So there are many facilities about that. And the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection have been having strong commitment
in Indonesia.
In Indonesia to
good.
transform women entrepreneurs.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah. Okay, so I have a question to Jenfang. So if we observe in our classes, accounting subject is more dominated by women students, right? But your evidence that see on the less participation of women, it seems like a contradictory situation, right? So do you have any idea what happened in the middle when women students complete their study? I mean, the woman student in accounting. So do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think in Australia or in Taiwan, I think the female students account for a large part in the accounting departments. And also, actually, if we look at the statistic, we can find actually at the beginning levels, the female and the male, their percentage within the accounting firm are very similar. But finally, we can find the result at a very high levels. The percentage of female partner is much smaller than the male partner. So I think this is not good for the whole accounting industry because we need because the female the woman usually have better to some extent they are more sensitive. Because they are more sensitive, it's easier for them to detect the earnings manipulation. And also, female, usually they are more hardworking. And so I think that within the accounting firm, if they want to make sure they can recruit a lot of female talented people, I think they need to change their compensation structure. And because we know that in the industry, in the market, usually the big company firm, they don't like to engage with the female auditor. And some masculine industry, they pay a low fee to the female partner. So within the accounting firm, maybe they should consider a better compensation structure. They will consider, they can value the audit quality and also value the long working hour they spend in the engagement. So I think if they change the compensation structure, they still can attract more female students to enter the accounting firm. And in the long run, I think the situation maybe after the environment in the society, in the politics has been improved, I think the thing may become better in accounting industry.
Yeah. So I hope our female student accounting does not diminish your motivation if you read the result from Jenfang's study. Okay, I will open the second round opportunity to ask a question to audience. Please, if you have any more question to the three participants here. Is there any more time for Q&A session? Committee? 5 minutes. Okay. So we don't have many more times to discuss further. Oh, okay. Okay.
because there are many women leaders here, including Bu Eni, Bu Nurul, Bu Mita, Bu Alika, Bu Nastiti, and all of women leaders. So, UN Women's Research concludes, and we see in our survey, when women leaders become agent of change to give opportunities for women in their workplace or marketplace, and we found that we unconsciously have gender bias because we really embrace our experience. So we found that women leaders have gender bias when some of examples like this. So if we see our employee, our subordinate, have many permission to leave the office, and women leaders often says that, hey, don't do that. Look at me. Because when I was in your age, I can be managing my time. I'm stronger. I was stronger. And I will not leave my family, but I can be a successful woman. So that's kind of unconscious gender bias that women leaders have, because we have looked at ourselves, and because we feel that we have been achieving this position. So, hey, our little sister or our colleague or our employees, look at us. We can reach this position. We are not spoiled. We have to be stronger. Don't be emotional. Don't be spoiled. Please, you can manage your family. Look at us as women leaders. That's the gender bias. That's the existence of gender bias have. And we found that. So be careful. If you deal with your women employees and do the thing that you do not do when you are at her age, just remember, every woman have their own experiences, have their own social and economic context. They are not you, and of course, their experiences have different experience with you. So they can be from lower social and economic status, or of course, they have different experience with you. So don't ever ask them to imitate you, to do like what you have been doing, because you feel that you are stronger and you are not emotional. Because women are easy for being accused to be emotional, to be spoiled. And everyone asks, be stronger, be stronger. Hey, every woman have different experiences, have different contexts of their life. So, one word for women, affirmation and understand. When they have less confidence with you, when they have to be spoiled or emotional, because that's not their mistakes, that's because their experiences. So please understand their context, their economic and social background. That's our research in UN Women. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Poppy, for the strong message not to be gender biased from our woman perspective. Okay, for last part of this session, I would ask Bu Poppy, Renato, and Jenfang to give a closing statement based on your research, your concern. So please start from from Jenfang.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think that for the company's human capital or even for the accounting firm, the woman is very important. They contribute a lot to the productivity, to the performance and the audit quality within the organization. So I think that we need to think about how to take advantage of the human resources from the women and to improve the whole industry, the accounting industry, or in other company. I think this is a very important issue. I think most of the country facing this issue. And in Taiwan, they through the change in the social environment, change in the politics, also implement some regulation we take a long time. The Taiwan take a long time to change the whole situation. And I think if we can do better, and no matter within the organization or outside the organization, I think the world will become better, and it will become a more sustainable environment in the future. Yeah.
Renato, please.
Just taking on the Poppy's words, I think that there is gender bias. Eventually, there will be always gender bias. There are historical, religious, and other trends that actually work for keeping these differences between genders. But the key word, in my view, is diversity. I think women need to be empowered to do things that are different from what men do. This thing of always comparing men and women in terms of different elements, I don't think it's good in the sense that women can do things that are totally different and that are very, very useful. And that's why I work for empowering women, especially young girls, but also boys, because we need to have this diversity. And the gender bias will go on eventually. Even in societies that have a strong level of equality, for example, in France, you see that still in society, men and women have different roles and look for different things. And because of that, there are always indicators where you could see some inequality. So in my view, we should work on diversity. Women have much more to contribute. Of course, if they are released from some of the tasks that they have to undertake now alone, but they don't have to imitate men. And that's another thing. For example, in business schools, I noticed that, for example, when assessing students, we always expect to have the same kind of business ideas from boys and girls. Maybe that's something we need to work, because diversity is about doing things that are different with different targets, but of course using the same kind of skills, but leading to different outcomes. That's why I think where women, especially young women, should focus, and the leadership comes naturally from the impact that they have in society. So I think there is so much to expect in years to come from women, not because they will be like men, but precisely because they will be different from the type of leadership we have these days. And that's what I expect, and that's what I work for. Thank you.
So when we want to improve gender equality for women, don't ever think this is kind of discrimination for men. Because again, the world has been dominated by men. So don't be worried about the position of man, because it has been naturally happening in the world. So please do community development, research, and social movement for empowering women and men based on their own characteristics. I agree with Renato, based on their characteristics and of course their capability and ability. So we will not discriminate some of our humans in the world, of course, but it's about women has discrimination, subordination, and marginalization in the world. So that's why we do this.
Thank you, Bu Poppy. Please give applause to the speakers. So this is the conclusion that diversity is a human being, part of human being, and inclusivity is the effort on how we can recognize the dignity of the diversity. So let us make our environment more inclusive for everyone. Thank you for us, and again, big applause to the speakers. And I pass to MC.
Thank you very much, Bu Wuri, and thank you very much also to all of the speakers, Bu Poppy, Prof. Renato, and also Prof. Jenfang. Thank you very much for the insightful discussion, and please be back to your seat. Thank you very much.